Hi, this is Lydia Jakovac from the Rossland Museum, and today is Friday the 14th of March 2014, and I'm here today with Edith McCuaig. And Edith, do you agree to being recorded for the Rossland Memories Project?
Yes, I agree.
And thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We're hoping to put the recordings in the archives at the Rossland Museum and also put them on the web for people to hear the stories. So Edith, thank you once again. Let me know a little bit about your background, where you were born and how you came to Rossland.
I was born in Zealandia, not New Zealand, but Zealandia, Saskatchewan. And there was a terrible storm and my mother could not get to the hospital, so I was born at home. And then my father was a grain buyer, so we moved several times. So we actually moved to a place called Frenchman Butte. There were 2 priests killed on a hill, and so the town was named after them, Frenchman Butte. And so I got all of my schooling there, and then because the war was on, I left on July the 1st, right after graduation, for Saskatoon to Saskatoon University to their normal school.
What year was that?
1944. And I became a teacher. And so I taught for 3 years, and then I was married and had a son. And then my husband came to Trail because we heard they were hiring, and he got a job at Cominco, which he stayed with for almost 25 years before he died. And we had 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys.
And what were their names?
Their names are Blair, Penny, Blaine, Guile, Fairleth. And they're all professionals now and live at the coast. And
so when you came here, Edith, your husband worked in Trail. What was his name? Your husband's name?
Bob.
Bob. So Bob was working in the smelter. What was his position there?
Well, he worked in what they call the blue powder and the zinc melting room.
Oh, nice.
And they were terrible places to work, I assume, because he was not well. After breathing in all the lead, many times he was leaded.
Oh, my goodness. So while he was working in the smelter, you were a full-time mum?
Yes.
So tell me what that was like.
But then when my youngest was 5 years old, she was going to kindergarten, and Mrs. Brown owned the kindergarten, and she used to play the piano. And my little girl said, "My mother can play better than you can." So she said, "Why doesn't she come and play for us?" So then I used to go and play for the kindergarten. So the next year, Berna Brown wanted to sell the kindergarten, so I bought it from her. And the first year I had a class of 88 5-year-olds. So they were all pretty cute. And we used to rent what was the Orwell Hotel basement. It's now a general store, I think.
So 88 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
How did you start to coordinate all of that?
Well, we had benches and tables and set them down, and they all were perfectly behaved, and we taught them how to print their name and do their numbers, and we taught them dancing and singing, and it just seemed to work.
And how many staff did you employ?
Just one.
Just one?
Yeah.
So it was 2 staff for
Yeah.
88
Right.
students?
Yeah. But we split them in 2. We'd go 9 to 11, 11 to 1.
Okay.
The hours we used.
So was it a successful business?
Well, we charged $5 each per month, so we didn't get very well off from that.
Where was the kindergarten? In the, you said the Orwell Hotel?
The Orwell, which is now the Flying Steam Shovel.
Oh, right there.
And then we rented the church, which is now the daycare. That was a church. And we rented that after a few years. Had the kindergarten in there. And then in 1973, my husband died in 72. In 1973, they put kindergarten in the school. And I could not teach in the school without going back to Vancouver to get a degree. So I could substitute, but there wasn't enough money in it to live on. And I still had 3 kids at home. And so that's when I started looking for other jobs. And well, in the meantime, actually, when I started the kindergarten, I had already started at the library. That was 1966. And
what did you do at the library?
Library, well, I was the librarian. But then the government ran a course, a community librarian course, and I wrote that and passed that. And so I used to work 9 to 11, 11 to 1 at the kindergarten, 3 to 5 at the library, and then I played piano in a dance band, so very often I would play from 9 to 1 in the evening. And my husband used to say, well, why don't you get a job driving taxi, because you could drive after 1 o'clock at night. So
what was the dance band? Was that an
orchestra?
It was
an orchestra, and I played piano. We had sax and guitar and bass fiddle and drums.
What was the name of the band?
Mills Combo.
Mills Combo. What happened to Mills Combo?
Everybody died.
Okay.
Everybody's dead except me.
No one took it on after that?
No. But so lots of people in this area would know Mills Combo.
Mills Combo.
Yeah.
So you worked at the library
as
the librarian.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, how that went, and staff that you worked with.
Well, it was a very nice job because I got to meet everybody in town, and the only thing was we would buy new books, and the board members would choose which books we bought, which was rather strange. But and one time one guy ordered a book called Birds of Britain, and here when we opened it, it was all naked women.
Oh, okay. Completely different meaning to what I was thinking.
Yeah, Birds of Britain.
Birds of Britain.
So I don't know what happened to that book.
And where was the library at this house?
In the courthouse, in the basement of the courthouse, which is a pretty spooky place to work at night.
And what were what was the latest hours that you worked there?
Well, we'd work, I think it was 3 to 5 and 7 to 9.
7 to 9, that's getting dark. Even during winter?
Oh, yes.
And how many staff worked with you in the library?
Well, I had Mrs. McNabb, and I don't think we had anybody else. No, she was about the only one that helped.
And how many books did you have in those days?
We were supposed to have had 10,000 books.
10,000.
When we took inventory, that's how many we said we had.
And this was back in
1966 to 72, yeah.
Till 72.
Yeah.
So you were doing the kindergarten and the library at the same time.
Yes.
That's quite a feat.
That was, and to run my home as well with 5 kids.
That's right. So after your husband died in 72,
yeah.
So you were alone with, you said 3 kids on your own?
Yes, the other 2 had graduated and were in university. So then I took a job at McGavin's Bakery. I was a manager at McGavin's Bakery and Trail. Then I got a job at the post office, and it was a good job, but in those days you had to lift 65 pounds. And one day somebody shipped 2 sewing machines, little sewing machines, right. 2 in a bag. And I was expected to lift those onto a truck to ship to Vancouver. And I said to myself, I can't do this for the rest of my life. It's too hard to work. And you don't know, but the Eaton catalog came out. And it was a big, thick catalog. And I would work in Rossland in the morning, and I had to sort all those eating catalogs in Ross, and then I had to drive to Trail and sort all the Trail ones. So that was a hard job.
Oh my goodness. So, and then I think you also mentioned something about notary.
Yeah,
public?
well then after, when I was working at the post office, then Bob Maddox bought out, what the heck was his name? Anyway, he bought out the insurance office, and he said, if you can pass the insurance agent's exam, you can have this building, you can have this job, you can be the manager. So I wrote that test and passed it and got the job as the manager of Waldy Baker. They bought Waldy's office in Trail, and it was Waldy Baker Insurance Agencies. So I worked in there until they sold that, and, but while I was working there, then Bob Van was the notary public, and he insisted that I be a notary public. So I started taking the course, and you had to take a course through UBC and go to Supreme Court and the whole bit. So I did that, but then Maddox sold the business to Rossland Realty. And so there I was with my notary degree, but really no place to work except if Gordon, who was the manager of Rossland Realty, would let me do it kind of as a sideline. So that's what I did for several years. But I had to do my insurance business too.
Right.
So I know where everybody lives in Rossland because I had to look at their house for insurance.
So you actually went into homes to do inspections?
Right.
Okay, what kind of things were you looking for?
Well, we just, what kind of a furnace and what kind of a roof do you have? That's what you want for insurance, yes.
The safety aspects.
Liability,
and liability.
Yes.
Great. So tell me about, I think you mentioned Rebecca Lodge.
Then Rebecca Lodge, 1951. That's another thing. Everybody in those days, in the 50s, every congregation opened with "O Canada" and closed with "God Save the Queen," or the King, actually, at that time. So I was a piano player, so I got invited to all these things. So what was I going to talk about? Oh, about
the Rebecca's.
Well, they needed a musician for Rebecca's. So I played for Rebecca's, I played for Pythian Sisters, I played for the Rossland Eagles, I played for Rossland Legion, I played piano for all of them. I played in every piano in this town, I think. And the nicest piano in Trail was at Cairo Manor. Oh. And I feel so badly that they should have closed Cairo Manor because the piano was so great.
Oh, okay. So what kind of music, you were playing "O Canada" for everybody?
Yeah.
And the anthem?
Yeah.
The God Save the King?
Yeah.
Did they ask you to sing as well, or
no,
just play the piano?
No, you just need a piano player because everybody was supposed to stand and sing,
Exactly, yeah. Yes.
But then for lodges, they have their own songs that you have to do, yeah. So I'm still playing for Rebecca's, and I'm also the provincial pianist for the Rebecca Assembly, which will be in Penticton in April.
And what will happen there?
I will play for whatever they need. They have to march in and march out and sing and all those kind of things.
In Penticton?
Yeah.
Well, you're quite famous then, Edith. I didn't know about that music part. Oh, good job. Do you have a piano here?
I have about 36 pianos, but only just 2 big ones.
Here in the house?
I mean, ornaments.
Oh, okay, ornaments. But how do you practice for Penticton? Where will you be practicing?
I don't play very well. I don't do much of anything anymore.
Oh, you don't play the piano anymore?
Not much, no.
Right.
No. Nobody likes pianos. It's all guitars now.
Guitars.
Yeah.
I remember you said something about the Miners' Hall.
Oh, yes.
Some early memories of Rossland and what it used to look like. And you started talking about the Miners' Hall. Right.
We used to have to walk uptown and go past the Miners' Hall. And I noted that the hall had leaned over towards the east and that they had great big 12 by 12 logs holding it back towards the west. And I wondered how that hall stood so long, because it sure was leaning in 1949.
And then what did they do?
I don't know whatever happened, how they straightened it up, because they're still using it. But I always think it's liable to come crashing down any day.
I was under the understanding they totally remodeled and rehabilitated the building.
Oh yes, twice they did that.
Twice.
The first time they put in the wrong insulation, and it had to be all torn out and put in again, so it cost lots of money to do that.
Oh boy.
And because there have been different groups go in there, they don't seem to know what the previous person's idea was, maybe, and so...
And does it look pretty much like it looked back, if you remember the 40s?
Inside, yeah, the inside looks the same, and I think I kind of laugh when I see them using amplifiers, because that stage was built so that when we used to go, nobody had any amplification, and they just would sing or dance and you could hear them, but now they have to have all these speakers and wires, and what a shame, because it has a beautiful stage and
how did they
acoustics.
use the building without the speakers? What kind of performances did they have?
Well, they had all kinds of shows and mostly dances. There were always dances. Every Friday and Saturday night there'd be dances somewhere. If it wasn't at the Eagles or the Legion or the Miners' Hall, it would be at the Oddfellows' Hall. We had a beautiful hall. And... that was sold and torn down just 5 years ago.
Where was that exactly?
That's up on 3rd Avenue.
3rd Avenue.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your family, your children, and what they were involved with here in Rossland, what schools they went and their hobbies.
Well, my children all went to Cook Avenue, and they're very broken-hearted to see it torn down, because they went to grades 1 to 6 there. And then they all went to high school, and never once did I walk with them to school. And now I see that the parents have to walk with their children to school.
and that was because safer in those days?
Well, you gave your children more freedom, I think, and you expected more of them, that they would know better than to run out in the middle of the road. My kids played hockey right here on Columbia Avenue. They had an old frame they built with a bed spread over it, and that was their hockey goal, you know, and they'd put it across there at the road and shoot across at it in between the trucks coming and things.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, no.
So they didn't go down to there's a ballpark down here somewhere.
Down that
way.
Yeah.
That was too
they
far.
played ball down there.
Right.
Yeah, they joined all the ball clubs. Remember, Glenn Card was a coach they really liked, and Bevan Barry was a very famous coach of baseball.
Baseball.
Yeah, my boys all played baseball, and then they played hockey, and they used to have to get up, and we just had wood stoves. And they'd get up in the morning, it'd be cold, and they'd have to put their hockey stuff on and walk all that way up to the rink. You know, we never were expected to drive them anywhere.
And did you see any of their games? Did you watch them?
Oh, yes. Well, when they used to play in Kimberley or Fruitvale or somewhere, we would go with them. In fact, one night I took a load of little hockey boys, and my car flipped right around out there by Blueberry.
Oh.
And a load of little boys. Oh, my God.
Were they terrified? Were you
Didn't seem
terrified?
to. I was, but I don't think they were. My car just flipped right around in a 360 degrees, and away we went. Never bothered to tell their parents, of course.
Oh, my goodness. Did you have snow tires, or... In those days, that would have been the 50s, 60s?
Yeah, we likely did. We would likely have good tires.
But still, there was a lot of ice there.
Icy patches, yeah.
So your 3 boys played baseball and hockey?
Yeah.
And what about you girls?
And soccer.
And soccer.
Yeah, they're into soccer and lacrosse. And the girls, they took part in everything at school, like basketball and singing mostly. Penny was always into singing, and now she's with the Sweet Adelines and travels all over the world.
Oh.
Yeah, and she's a pharmacy professor at UBC. And Verlith is the head of the nurse practitioners at UBC. So we have some of her students living here right now.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. And Blair, he's a lease account salesman for Langley Chrysler. He's been for about 30 years. And Blaine, he's computer technician for Cominco for 38 years, and then now he's the computer technician for the hospital, not for IBM, but for IBS, I think it's called.
And what does that stand for?
Well, whatever IBM stands for. This
Oh,
is
like International Business Machines?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he travels from Trail Hospital, Castlegar Hospital, Grand Forks.
Oh.
And fixes them. He had to install 19 new computers yesterday.
Well, that's progress for you, I guess.
Yeah, I guess, but isn't that an awful lot of work for one man?
For one man, I know.
Yeah. Interior Health doesn't pay too much. Hire too many.
So, tell me about Red Mountain. Did you explore Red Mountain yourself or your kids?
Well, we used to pick huckleberries, but we never skied Red Mountain, but we skied all over the mountains. In fact, I don't think they've found the last cabin that my friends and I built.
Oh, tell me about that cabin.
Yeah, well, they had some real porcupine quills, so they put porcupine quills on it, so it's called Porcupine Cabin.
Is it still there?
I don't know. I can't ski anymore, so I can't go and see it.
So Porcupine Cabin.
Yeah.
And is it on Red Mountain or
Monte Cristo? It's way far. It's way towards Christina Lake.
Towards Christina Lake.
But we used to ski Crow Road. Crow Road is where everybody skis now, I think. But we used to go out in the mountains and ski every day.
Cross-country skiing.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you have skins on your cross-countries?
We had skins, yeah.
So you would... tell me some adventures you had with your cross-country skis.
I remember once of going in Willie Dory's old truck, and we had Bob Glover, Willie Dory, and Harvey McKay and I, and we went up to Porcupine, and the boys we thought they had one bottle of wine, but they had 2 bottles of wine. So I said, I'm going out early because you guys can ski faster than I can. So I took off. Well, I looked around behind me, and here they are all coming, but they're all half cut. They're falling down and falling down. So, of course, needless to say, I had to drive the truck home.
Drive the truck home. So
those days were fun.
And then you also mentioned something about competitive cross-country skiing, but that was a little later on in life.
Oh, well, no, that was my 62nd birthday, was February 20th, and that was the Nordic Loppet, and I skied 32 kilometers that day. Then, after we skied, we went to Castlegar for dinner, because they had a big dinner and a presentation of a gold medal for me. And then we went to the Legion and finished off dancing there, and then got home.
Oh my goodness.
All in one day.
All in one day.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Well, tell me about some of these dances that you said were at the Miners' Hall and all these other places.
Yeah.
What were they like? You know, who did you see there, and what kind of dancing?
Everybody knew everybody else, or else they met everybody there. You know, it was nice. In fact, when I was playing the piano, people would say, "Did you know that Mrs. Jones and Mr. Smith are having an affair?" And I'd say, "Oh, no. That's not news to me, because when I'm playing the piano, I can see what's going on."
Aha!
And so that's how people met people.
Oh no! And so they were mainly every Friday and Saturday nights here in Rossland.
Yes, yeah.
So, do you remember the trains or anything? They were running around here for a while, but that would have been before the 40s.
Before they still had the train. They still had a train station on 2nd Avenue, and I remember the station agent coming to our house on Christmas Eve with a bunch of guys, and they all got their hair cut. My girlfriend cut their hair because they were supposed to be going to the barber. They told their wife they're going to the barber, but here they were at my house, and she's cutting their hair.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
And that was, I remember that was the station agent, so they must have still had a station
Still had
there.
them. And at some point they pulled up all the railway lines.
Yes. But
Did you know
that
anything
didn't
about
have
that?
anything to do with me. I mean, that was 2nd Avenue or way down
Way
here.
down,
Yeah.
down towards Warfield. All right.
But I came to British Columbia on the train from Saskatchewan to Edmonton to Calgary to here.
To hear.
Yeah. It was a long train ride.
Oh my goodness. But the train took you right to Rossland?
No.
Just
Ended
to
up in Trail.
In Trail.
Yeah.
So they got rid of that.
Yeah.
By 47 you said you came over? Or 48?
48.
48 you
Yeah.
came. So the train up the mountain was gone
Yeah.
by then. All right. And so did you ever remarry, Edith?
No, but I had a boyfriend for 32 years.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So now your 5 children, 3 boys and 2 girls,
Yeah.
they've got children? They've been married now? Or?
Each one has 2, a boy and a girl, except Blaine, he just has a girl.
Oh, nice.
So aren't they lucky to have a boy and a girl? So I have, I think we have 5 of them in university this year.
Wow.
So they're well, let's see, she's just writing her thesis now for her master's. And Bobby and Lana have finished. So we've got Pierce and Tash and Troy. Be going to university next year.
And where are they? Are they spread
They're
all
all
over
Port
Canberra?
Moody, Port Coquitlam, or Coquitlam.
Oh, okay. So
They
over
all
there.
have houses, yes.
Do they come over here for any reunions?
Oh, yes, they come all the time because the girls have built these 2 new houses in Ross, and so they come and use their ski chalets in the winter, and we have property at Christina Lake, so they have to come to that too.
Is that your cabin, the Porcupine Cabin that you mentioned, the
No,
Christina?
no.
This
That's
is a different
it's
place.
just a shack.
Just a
That's
shack.
just a ski shack. Yeah.
There's a lot of cabins around, and there's yes,
Yeah.
I've been to a few, but
Oh, yeah.
and they're very primitive, but they're great to see there. So
And none of us ever went to them in the summer. That's what I'm laughing about, them going to them in the summer. Because we didn't go in the summer. They're just winter things.
Oh, like a
so
winter
you don't
shelter.
need bathrooms and electric stoves. And
wow. So and did you ever stay overnight in the cabin?
no, I never did. No.
Was it ever used for people to stay overnight?
Well, they used to get pretty mad when people did that because they burn all wood.
Right.
Yeah. No, they were just to stop and have
just
your...
lunch.
In fact, we have a friend that was a logger, and we used to want him to come with us because we would put bread and cheese in aluminum foil and put them on the stove, and that would be our lunch. Well, that's what he ate when he was a logger, and he didn't want to do that. That was no fun for him.
No fun for him.
No.
So any adventures, like you said, you did a lot of cross-country skiing and you had skins, so you were quite a serious skier.
Yeah.
Any
We went
adventures
pretty
up on the mountains or any?
Well, my biggest adventure was I was going from Gibbard's Trail. Have you been to Blackjack?
Yes.
I'm a charter member of Blackjack. We skied there before it started. I was going from Gibbard's to Geldness, and I didn't feel well. And I said to Willie Dory, I said, I don't feel very well. Do you want to come with me? He said, no, I got to go home right now. So I climbed up the hill, and on the way I met Robin Latham, who is a physiotherapist, and we had a little chat, and then I continued on and had a heart attack.
Oh, my goodness.
Right at Geldness. Well, I think it was Fred Bushell. Do you know Fred Bushell?
I've heard
He was
the
the
name.
best skier there. He whipped down and got this toboggan, and somebody had a cell phone, and they phoned the ambulance. So by the time they got me down, Dr. McCaskill was there. By the time they got me down, the ambulance was there, and they got me to Trail. And they shipped me out to... can't think of the name of the hospital. Anyway, Vancouver.
Oh, in Vancouver.
Shipped me to Vancouver, and I had a 4-way quadruple bypass.
Oh my goodness. How long ago was that?
1999.
99.
Yeah.
So have you been skiing since that
I did, but I haven't in the last few years. No,
not in the last few years, but
too old.
Well, that's quite an adventure.
That was adventurous enough.
It's just lucky that somebody was there to get you down.
Right. Yes. Oh. Yes.
So, did your kids have any adventures?
Well,
any?
I think
with playing hockey and baseball.
Well, Blaine had a motorcycle and he had a terrible accident. Almost cut his leg off in Spokane.
Oh my goodness.
So he suffered all his life with that. So that was adventure enough.
Wow.
But
so he can walk? Is he still got the use
he
of that
can walk,
leg?
but he can't. Like, he has to go to Vancouver on Sunday, and he doesn't want to fly with Pacific Coastal because he can't bend his leg, and those seats are so small, you know. So we said, well, I'm sure they let us sit at the front, so and have an aisle seat.
Sure.
Then he could put his leg out. So
exactly. And what about you girls? Were they good kids?
Well, they were all real good. Real good kids. All have married very well. Their husbands do very well, and the boys' wives are lovely, and so what more could I ask?
Sounds like a wonderful life.
Healthy little grandchildren. So
since 1948 until today, you've lived here in Rossland.
Yeah.
In the same house.
Actually, no. Actually, there was an old house, an old miner's house here that had been added on. And after my husband died, there was no way I could fix it. Oh. So I had 17 young boys came with chainsaws and axes, and I rented a big truck, and they just sawed it all down and chopped it all up, put it in the truck, and the dump used to be out here. Just took it out there and dumped it in the dump. And then this one was built in Vancouver.
This house was built and shipped?
Yeah. And once they had to build the basement, and the guy was filling in around the basement, and he crashed the basement down, so we had to build it again.
Oh.
So that was fun.
So was that how they built houses? Like you order it through a catalogue, a design or something?
It was a modular home that was built in Vancouver, yeah.
So...
And
but why couldn't they build it here? I'm just curious.
Well, they didn't do it here then in those days, and we just thought it's a good way for me to have a house right away. You know?
I mean, it's a lovely house.
Yeah.
So was it already made when it came on the truck?
Even the tile was on the bathroom and everything. Carpets were there. Everything was made.
Fabulous.
But after the basement cat crashed, that was kind of a setback. But I was able to sue the guy that smashed it.
Because you had that background.
Yes.
The notary and everything else with it. You knew what to do, what to say.
Right, yeah.
So when was this built, this house?
1976.
76.
Yeah.
And you've got an awesome view out there.
Yeah.
And you said your two daughters come back?
Yeah.
So they come back for the winter and live in those two houses down there?
Well, for Christmas well, they were back on the 1st of March because they had taken me to Mexico, so they had to bring me home. So they came back March the 1st, and they come for a few days at a time.
So you've just come back from Mexico?
Yes.
So what part of Mexico did you go to?
Puerto Vallarta.
That's a bit of a lovely community there.
Place. Isn't that nice?
And what was the weather like?
Hot. Nice. 31 degrees, I think. Yeah.
Lovely.
Love it.
And what about the food? The food?
Well, they didn't go to my resort that I like to go to. We went to the Grand Palladium, and I didn't think their food was that good, but it was fine. I mean, what can you do wrong with a bunch of fruit and vegetables, you know?
Oh.
But just that we've had better food there.
Oh, the Grand Palladium. And they've got pools. Is it near a beach? I don't know.
Right on the beach.
It's right on the beach.
And they've even got a square around into the ocean, and it was about 4 feet deep, the whole thing. So you went right into the salt water without being in the other part of the ocean, you know, without the waves and that.
Oh, okay.
It was very nice.
Nice and safe?
Yes, it's a very nice idea.
And was that a special occasion that they took you there?
My birthday.
Your birthday.
My 88th birthday.
88th birthday. Congratulations.
Yeah.
What a wonderful age.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty nice.
Wonderful. So that was your 2 daughters who took you?
2 daughters and a son.
And a son.
7 of us went.
7.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot there.
Yeah.
So, memories of Rossland. I suppose you would have had a lot of mayors ruling over Rossland. Do you have a favourite mayor?
Oh yes, Harold Elms was my favourite mayor.
And why
he
was
used
he
to
your
own
favourite?
the Butchateria. Well, he was just a down-to-earth person, maybe because I knew him personally more than I know these people.
And what kind of things did he do or change for Rossland?
Well, of course, Harry LaFay did more than anybody, I guess. And Harry was nice.
And Harry was
Harry
the mayor?
built the Golden City Manor.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know that.
And I knew his daughter and her husband, and Harold. I knew Harold's wife very well, so I liked him. And who else? Oh, Mr. Turner. He was the mayor here once, and his wife was in our lodge, so we knew them. But
So any interesting... You would have seen a lot of remodeling of Rossland, a lot of buildings pulled down and...
yes, they tore down so many of the old buildings. Yeah, the Orange Hall and Hanson's garage. My niece had married a Hanson, and that was their garage. They tore down to build the Prestige.
Oh,
that used to be a garage. And
so, and you... Something about the Prestige you were telling me before about how they were building it?
yeah, instead of making it come out level with the sidewalk, they dug it down deep. And I had a representative of the insurance company come to insure it. And we looked down on it, and there they are digging it with a shovel. So I don't know how they ever got it built. And then the roof was so strange that had those big icicles hanging that were very dangerous. So that was too bad. But that was a young girl. Her name was Eileen something. That was the architect or whatever you'd call for that.
Was that the one from...
She's from California.
California.
Yes. So we have a California hotel.
I see. I wonder
and that was nice. They put in New Zealand wool carpet in that hotel. Was beautiful, but they've torn it all up now and got this old tile on it.
So was she the architect for the Prestige in Nelson and other places?
Oh no, that wasn't built. That's not very old.
That's not old at all.
No. This place would have to be in the 70s. Was built. So, but the Prestige in Nelson, I'm sure, is just recently, like in the 90s, maybe. Yeah.
So they brought her up from California. There wasn't an architect here in BC?
I don't know. Maybe she knew somebody or something. Got the job.
Very interesting how that happened.
Yeah.
So you knew a lot of different mayors. Were there any other significant people that you remember, like being here since the 40s? You mentioned Harry LaFay.
Harry LaFay, yeah. Well, my brother worked for Harry LaFay. My brother was kind of a handyman after the war. And he actually built that big mine thing that's outside the museum.
Oh, the head frame?
Yeah.
That big head frame?
Yeah.
He built that?
Yeah. So he worked for Harry LaFay quite a bit, building the Golden City Manor and those places. So that's how we knew Harry. But Harry had good ideas. And well, he's the one that built the library, too.
Oh, the one that's there now?
Yeah. And that's built on top of an old gas station, so it's all, they never did clean up the soil.
Oh,
so
okay.
I wonder what people today think.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
I think the same problem exists in Selmo.
Oh, I'll bet.
I heard about that with their gas stations, but...
Sure.
So the library was... But you weren't in the library then. You were in the library when it was in the courthouse.
Yeah, in the courthouse,
in the bottom, in that dark basement. Anything scary happened to you in the basement?
No, except Mr. Gerodozzi. Have you heard of Mr. Gerodozzi? he was quite a character around town. He was an Italian, and he used to go to court every week suing somebody for something. And he used to come to the library, and one day he came in, and I had just been reading a book that had some Italian words in it. So he came in and he said something like, "Here I am," and I said, "Subito." He said, "Oh, you speak Italian." Subito means right now, you know.
Oh.
So, yeah.
And so did he get to have an important position here in Rossland?
Oh, no.
He was just a significant character.
Yeah, people looked down on him. But he had lots of money. He owned all of that. Well, you wouldn't know what it is now. It's down below where A.M. Ford building is, all that land down that valley.
Right.
He used to own all of that, and they had a hard time buying it off him anyway, because he was quite wealthy. Gerardosi. Yeah.
Anybody else you can remember that, you got good neighbours here, I guess? Everybody's a good neighbour here?
I don't know anybody here. They're all different now. Like my neighbors were the Ike and Kate Glover, and they were old-timers here, and they were just lovely people, but they both died. And my neighbors next door, I know them. But other than that, everybody else has moved away or died.
Away. Oh, okay. And yeah. you never moved away. You never wanted to move from Rossland.
No. Well, I was going to go to Vancouver, but I looked around and there's just nothing there for me. It's too expensive to buy a place there.
For sure. And look how gorgeous this place is.
Yeah.
You even have blue sky now.
Good. We need some more.
So Edith, I thank you very much for everything, and we appreciate your stories. Like I said, these will go onto the website and in the archives.
I shouldn't have said so much.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Anybody else you'd like to remember here on the Rossland Memories?
Well, I could tell you another cute little thing was my neighbor across the street was Mrs. Fox, and I think she had about 8 children. And her daughter was married to Jimmy Ferrero, so they own Ferreros. Anyway, my boys were blonde and little, and I used to cut their hair very short in the summer, and they got all sunburned on their heads, so Mrs. Fox went and bought them ball caps. I thought that was cute.
Very cute.
That was nice.
Very cute. So, do you remember, one thing I'm interested in, do you remember the Bank of Montreal?
Oh yes, we always dealt there, yes.
What was it, has it changed a lot on the inside? I know it's a gallery now, but
yes.
Do you remember what
yeah, it was
like
beautiful. It was beautiful. When we came, it used to have these closed-in sections where you went to do your business. You know, there were
inside
oak, wooden walls of some kind, which was really a nice touch, because now everything's so open, everybody in town can hear what you're doing.
That's right, and see what you're doing.
Yes.
I guess it suits it now because it's a gallery.
Yeah.
What about the drill hall? Did you ever go to the drill hall for a dance or
no, you know,
activities?
Very, very seldom did we ever do anything there. I was there with Girl Guides a few times. I used to use the basement there, but that's about the only time I was ever in that.
Were you with the Girl Guides? Were you an instructor?
Well, my girls were in it.
Your girls were.
But I never took part in that. But
because I heard they had some dances there too.
Yes, I think so.
And recreational
we
activities.
never played there.
Never played there.
And the war was over when we got here, so they didn't have a drill hall. It used to be at the drill hall. Military used to practice there.
And then after that they. So are you associated with the Legion at all?
Oh yes,
down here?
Been a 37-year member there. Yeah,
wow.
But I haven't been president of the Ladies Auxiliary, but I've been treasurer and secretary of the Ladies Auxiliary, and I played for every November the 11th, of course.
Right.
And Yeah, we used to work hard at the Legion, helping them raise funds. In fact, one time my friend Lil and I sponsored a Western night, and we had the basement, we had stew, and we called it the, what do we call it? But we had a lot of fun. Oh, and I made a cake for my friend's birthday. Her birthday was May the 5th, and she kept saying, you know, it's my birthday. So I took a cake, I took a cardboard box, and I iced it with salt and water, you know how you make out of salt, and made great big pink and blue flowers on it, and put Happy Birthday Beth on it. And so we presented it to her at this Western night, and she was just crying. She was so happy. So then we had her cut it. Well, of course, she couldn't cut the cardboard. Oh, it was funny for Bob. But I've met lots of nice people since belonging to the Legion, and of course, all the veterans.
Any characters in there you can remember, a story or two?
Well, I remember one of my little kindergarten kids, we used to call him Ralphie. His name was Ralph. So I said, oh, hi, Ralphie. He said, my name not Ralphie, my name Buck. And he had a great big buckle, you know, and he called himself Buck. And I thought, yeah, not Ralphie anymore.
That's very cute. So you've been involved in a lot of organisations here.
Yes.
What about the Winter Carnivals? I know that they kept going since early times.
Right.
Were you
but we
involved
used to
with
call it the snow show, and we had a queen contest. I think Penny was in a queen contest once. But you had to sell tickets, and the one that sold the most tickets won. Oh. So seemed like a lot of the Catholics would win because their relatives would buy more tickets than our relatives.
So it was called the Snow Show.
The Snow Show, and I thought it was much nicer at a snow show than now with this carnival bit, because it was never a carnival to our name.
So what was it? What happened?
Well, we had dances and snowboard. They used to have big planks and have board races down Columbia Avenue on these planks. That was fun.
Not when you say planks, what do you mean?
Like a board, you know, like you could buy
and would
a board.
They lie on it, or would they stand on it?
A bunch of them would stand on it, and you had to lift it and move them along. It was goofy. I don't remember.
So it wasn't going on the snow, they had to lift it?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know how they did that. That was funny. Odd. But mostly when something like that came up, I would likely be working with the Legion or the Rebeccas or the church or something that, that's all the entertainment I would get. Actually, we had the Golden City days.
Right.
The first time I had to look after Erna Coombs, who is an old-timer here, and I had to drive her around because she was the queen. And so, you would be doing those kind of things, so you didn't really get to participate too much. And then one time, they asked Lil and I to be judges for the children's costumes in the parade. Well, they were all so cute and everything. I said to Lil, we've got all this money. Let's give everybody $1 for at least trying. So we did. Well, that didn't go over very well. Oh. They thought my daughter should have won first prize. Oh. So they didn't ask me again. So that was okay.
Oh my goodness. And what about did you have the fall fair?
Oh yes.
What was
for the
that
Rebeccas,
like?
We used to enter the contest for groups, where you bake a loaf of bread and a jar of jam and all that. So I've taken part in all that.
You entered, or you were the judge?
We entered that, yeah.
Did you win anything? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Any firsts or
we
seconds?
Won.
Yes.
Yeah. But
so that was.
I always attend the fall fair, but I never participate.
No.
Nobody would eat my jam.
Oh. So you said you went huckleberry picking on Red Mountain?
Yeah. Well, we went mostly. We used to go as far as Nancy Green Cutoff, and then go down towards Castlegar, and there's excellent berries up there. and I was standing on, I didn't know I was standing on a log, and when I went to step off, I was about 5 feet in the air. You know, you're in the deep bush, you don't know where you are. So I never went again.
Wow.
But Harvey picked, thousands of pounds of berries, and the Italian ladies in trail were coming up to buy them from him because he picked so many one year.
Right. So, and that wasn't on Red Mountain, though? That was
that would
near Nancy
be in the
Green,
bush.
in the bush up there, right? Because I know I get mine from Red Mountain back there.
Right.
Some really good ones there too. So, by your time, 48, they had Red Mountain. They would have had the chair.
They just opened it that year.
They opened it.
Yeah.
And was there a celebration or anything, or?
Well, not that we knew about. We didn't belong to the club. A lot of my friends belonged to it. They bought shares in it, and they belonged to it, but we didn't because we didn't ski. Like I said, it was going to cost us $10 to buy skis and poles and boots.
Yes, that's per kid, right?
No, for Bob and I.
Oh.
We were just thinking of ourselves at that time.
So things were a little bit exorbitant.
Yeah.
Yes. Whereas $10 doesn't sound like very much today.
No, but it did then, you know, to spend on luxury. You just didn't spend your money like that. So.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Edith.
Sure.
It's been awesome. And if there's anything else, please contact us and let us know. And I thank you very much.